Welcome to the Papa Report, here to empower and educate you about your financial wellness. I'm Rebecca Powers, so happy to be hosting today with John Papa, the creator of DPS Advisors. Hey, John.
Hey, Rebecca, how are you?
Doing great. Of course, we're still watching market volatility and everyone's wondering and worrying. I thought we would maybe focus on your book today because a lot of viewers have talked about how to get a book, and you just need to come in and meet your wonderful team. But can we start with number one, if you don't mind?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because the book is The 7 Financial Mistakes That Retirees Make. And in the introduction, you said you and your dad wrote this because almost every single couple or person who came in to your office was making these same
in some
mistakes.
Form. It was amazing how after, probably 1,000 or so interviews with clients over 36 years, we see the same mistakes going on in each person's situation. So I'm like, hey, why don't we write a book about it, and then we can give it out as a gift to people, and when they come in, and give it out at our workshops, our lunch and learn. So we give it out a lot.
Yeah, and it's great because it really is something kind of completely different than what you see in the regular financial world of advice. So let's start with number one, if you don't mind. Investing as if you are still working.
Right. So we see all the time, Rebecca, where people come into the office. In fact, we just had one last week where a gentleman retired a couple of years ago, and his portfolio came in with his statements. And again, everyone comes in with statements thinking they have a plan, but they don't have a plan. That's not a plan. They came in with their statements, and I asked him how long he's been retired. He said, no, I'm retired for 2 years. I'm going, oh, that's great. That's great. Have you made any changes to your portfolio since you retired? He's like, well, no. I have the same mix. I'm 60-40, I said, well, listen, here's the difference. This is what we mean by investing as if you're still working, okay? When you're working, you're making money, you're making your salary, bonus, whatever. If the market goes down a little bit, you can replace the funds. No problem. Good thing. You can buy more shares of whatever you're buying, and the market rebounds, and that's great. You're still working. You're making money to replace what you lose for future rebounds.
Okay.
But now that you're retired 2 years, and especially times like now, the market's down 25%, so your portfolio's down, but you're not pumping any new money into that portfolio to be there for the rebound, to catch the rebound coming back up, whenever that's going to be.
Gotcha.
So a lot of people we see are in retirement, and they're investing as if they're still working.
So what did you do for him in that case?
So in that case, we just toned the risk down a little bit. We showed him, we did a Morning Start report for him, or a Riskalyze report, and basically showed him how much risk he's taken in the portfolio, because you can't afford to take 25% losses in your portfolio when you're not pumping new money into it on a regular basis. So there's a big difference. We call that, I'm investing for retirement rather than investing in retirement. When you're in retirement, the whole philosophy has to change. It's more about protection of asset.
Okay.
Protect the asset, get growth, but not crazy growth, because you can't take the crazy risk. So that's kind of what we talked about in investing while you're as if you're still working.
And so it was a big eye-opening moment.
Big eye-opener for him, made some changes, toned his risk down. Our number one goal for everybody is stress-free retirement. That's what we broadcast. We want to show everybody how to live a stress-free retirement.
Absolutely.
And that helped that gentleman tremendously.
Yeah, you may have saved him from going back to work at 79.
Yep.
All right, number two, not protecting your nest egg, especially at times when markets drop. And you wrote this book before the market started plummeting.
Right now, so it really fits today. But again, that tailors off of what we were just talking about, depending on where the person's situation is in their life, okay? Yeah. If you've been retired for a bunch of years and you haven't been in the workforce and you have this pot of money, right? We call it the nest egg. It's your pot, right? If you lose 25% of that pot in a year, and if it's an IRA and you're taking distributions out of that money because you're required to, you will seriously deplete the pot's assets if you have to do that. So you have to protect yourself from market drops. Use the financial tools. We talk a lot about the financial tools that are in the toolbox, okay? Don't have any preconceived notions. We show clients our 3 investment world strategy. You can't have all your money in Wall Street. We have to have some money in the bank for emergency funds. You have to have some money in insurance companies, in annuities. I know it's got a bad word, but listen, learn the pros and cons of them. They're great tools to use.
Yeah.
If it fits your situation, it's a great tool for protection, okay? So have some money in Wall Street, some money in insurance companies, some money in the banks. Spread your assets around, truly diversified. It'll protect it from market drops, especially when you're taking required minimum distributions.
Okay.
very
And
important.
Money in the bank, how many months would you ideally?
We go 6 months, we'll say 6 months, but I have some clients that say, I need to have $100,000 in the bank. And I'll question, I was like, well, why is that number? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, so I go, when was the last time you ever wrote a check, aside from your house, when you bought your house or maybe a car, did you wrote a check for somewhere that high? He goes, never. I'm like, so why do we need it there?
Makes me feel
It just
good.
makes me feel good. I go, well, listen, if that helps stress-free retirement,
that's right.
then I'm all for it. And you keep $100,000 a year. I'm not telling you how much money you need to keep in the bank.
That's right.
You tell me what you want to keep in the bank, and I'm not going to care about it. But they also say, Rebecca, don't call me and tell me your bank money is only making 0.01%. I don't care. You're not building wealth with the bank money. You're building wealth with your other monies in the other worlds. Don't drive up and down Bloomfield Avenue, especially with gas prices, to find a better interest rate on your bank money.
Because it's not really happening.
It's not happening. Right.
All right, number 3 in your book, not guaranteeing income needs.
Right. Again, people talking about having a stress-free retirement. Well, what creates that, okay? You have to look at a person's expenses, and you have to look at where's your income coming from right now.
Okay.
Mostly everybody, if they're over 62 or in the mid-60s are on taking Social Security. In the older days, people had pensions, so a lot of people retired today have pensions. The new kids working today aren't going to have a pension. But
they don't even know what a pension is.
They don't even know what a pension is. But most people that we're seeing in the mid-60s, low 60s, they have a pension. So when you look at, I have a guaranteed pension check coming in every month. I have a guaranteed Social Security check coming in every month, right? We know that's coming. What tool can you use that's going to create another guaranteed check that comes into your account every month? And again, go back to the financial toolbox. Let's look in the insurance world and look at the fixed annuity strategies that create guaranteed income streams that no matter how long you live, it's like getting a pension check, like getting a Social Security check. So that's what we talk about when we're saying making sure your income is guaranteed.
I don't think a lot of people realize that some insurance products, and of course, being an independent, the wonderful thing is he doesn't have to sell just a Ford or a Chrysler, if you know what I mean. You can sell any of these wonderful products that are out there in the universe. So that, I didn't realize that insurance actually gives you income. I thought it was just something if you die, your family gets the money.
No. If you could create guaranteed income streams, it creates that third guaranteed check.
Well, they would send you a check?
Every month. Direct deposit if you want.
Learn something new every day.
Yeah, direct deposit.
That's really neat. We need to take a quick break, but there's the number 844-534-4452. And this is how it works. We set aside about 10, maybe 15 this week, the producer's saying, reservations specifically for viewers of this show. So make sure you call in soon. Have your calendar ready so we can get you a date to come in and meet the Papa family, because it is a family affair. Let's talk about your office, your family, and what they need to do to come meet you. Right.
So, folks, you need to dial 844-534-4452, and you're going to come into the office and get a date on the calendar, and we're going to introduce you to the Diversified Planning Strategies Report, our DPS report. Whether you bring statements in that first meeting or not is irrelevant. It doesn't matter to us, but you will eventually learn about what the DPS report is. It's a 5-point review that'll go over everything that could affect you in retirement, whether it's market risk, income planning, market volatility, taxes on your qualified plans. Get a report that's going to show you the effects of these things on your retirement so that you can live a stress-free retirement, because that's what we're all trying to do, live a stress-free retirement. So dial 844-534-4452, get your date on the calendar, and get the Papa report.
Absolutely, and we'll be right back with more.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go? And who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back. I'm Rebecca Powers here with John Papa, and we are going through this book, Avoiding the Retirement Traps, which is kind of came about because you had so many clients coming in, thousands of them over your 36 years, and you saw they were kind of making the same mistakes.
Correct. That's right.
So we're going to go on to the next one. Portfolio cost, not knowing your cost. I think we can recognize the words hidden fees. That is much bigger than all of us realize.
Right, Rebecca, especially in times like now, you know, when the market's down 20 some odd percent and you're in a bunch of retail mutual funds, most people don't know what the costs of mutual funds actually are. And Forbes did a great article and they measured 10,000 different mutual funds and they came up with mutual funds in an IRA and a retail fund, the costs are about 3.5%. If it's in a non-IRA or outside where you pay taxes every year on the gains, it's about 4.5% to owning a mutual fund. So why it hurts is when your portfolio's down 20, 25% and you're paying 4% or 3% fees on top of it, now you're down 28, 29% in that portfolio. So the fees really, it's like driving in a boat going, you know, you're going 10 miles an hour, but the current against you is 15 miles an hour. So you're going backwards.
Yes.
So having these fees associated with and knowing what the fees are is a huge part of designing a plan and an investment strategy for somebody. Okay. And the other thing, and this is what gives annuities a bad name, the variable annuity, that is listed in the Wall Street world of our 3 investment world discussion. In the Wall Street, it's an investment. It's basically a bunch of mutual funds wrapped around an insurance policy. We play a game all the time with let's call the company. Don't listen to me. Let's call the company.
Yeah.
Let's go through all the questions we want to ask them about what the fees are. And they're same thing, 4 to 5% per year in fees, no matter if the account goes up or down. So a retired person or even an investor needs to measure and weigh, is it worth that, the fee worth what I'm getting in that financial tool?
Absolutely.
So most people have no idea. You know, they get a prospectus. When you're handed that investment, they'll give you a book that's probably a couple hundred pages long, written by lawyers, and say, here, you got to read this. This is what all the fees that are in this investment.
And good luck finding it on page 72.
It's not on page 1. Yeah, not on page 1 or not on the last page. It's in the middle.
And it makes you feel like you're being ripped off. I got to be honest. It really kind of makes your blood boil.
You kind of are, actually. You know, those investments, retail mutual funds, variable annuities, they're the old types of investing. You know, there's way better strategies out there today.
But what are they doing with the 4%? I mean, what, administration fees?
Administration expense ratio. Nobody manages portfolios for free. So that fund manager in that mutual fund, he's buying and selling stocks or equities inside that fund. He gets paid for that. Buying and selling securities has a cost to them. They don't do that for free. So it's all included in those things. And in a mutual fund, you have to keep a certain percentage in a mutual fund in cash. Because at 4 o'clock every day is when the price ends. So if people redeem out of a mutual fund, they have to have cash on hand. So some of your money in that fund, you might think you're all invested, but some of that money is sitting in cash, meaning it's earning nothing. So Forbes measured that as well. And that's where they come up with 3.5 in an IRA of mutual fund fees.
So what's the difference between, I mean, how do you get away from those hidden fees with the big bucks?
You look at more current investments like ETFs or single stock investments where they don't have all those costs.
What is ETF?
An ETF is what we call an exchange traded fund. It works exactly like a mutual fund.
Okay.
See, people bought mutual funds in the 80s and 70s when they were given a bunch of different securities. They could spread the risk around. Instead of buying one stock, they could buy a bunch of stocks inside this fund, but all those fees were with it. No one knew about it. ETFs today has the same benefit of a mutual fund where you can spread the risk around inside that fund, but they don't have all the costs, the trading costs inside of it like the mutual fund does.
Yeah.
Okay. And with an ETF, you're getting stock price. When you sell it at whatever time you're selling it, you get the price that time. If you buy it, you get the price at that time, not at 4 o'clock. Like mutual funds do.
So it's a whole new world, isn't it?
Whole new world out there. It's a new way of investing. It's really cool. A lot of great strategies out there.
See, I love that you think it's cool and great strategies because on this side, you know, as a regular layperson, we're going, this is so scary. I don't understand any of it. And why do you think American schools why have we never been taught this? It's weird.
My son just graduated college, and there should be a class called Life. You got 3 credits for it, and we're going to teach you how to write a check.
Right, even in 5th grade, you can understand that.
We're not taught any of this stuff, and and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder why, right?
It makes you want. Listen, so I'm in this business a long time, so I've seen everything. I know how these things work. And that's what my job is. And that's why you're going to hire a person like me, a fiduciary, to manage or help you with your assets, right? You do what you do, and you're really good at it. I can't do what you do. If I have a client
you're doing it right now.
That's not. If I had a client who was an engineer, you know, that was his job. That's what he was great at. You know, I could never be an engineer, and I would say the same thing about his profession. So working with a professional, working with a fiduciary who has to have your best interest over their own at all times, who has to describe the pros and cons of everything, of every investment, who has to disclose conflicts of interest, how they get paid. That's the kind of professional you want to work with.
Exactly. Fiduciary means that you have that sworn oath to do what is best
my
for
license
them.
dictates it.
And you can look all around at products. You don't have to sell just what your company is
We're
pushing.
finding the tool. We go back to our Home Depot story, Rebecca. We go back to the tool that we need to do the job we're trying to do.
And it's refreshing because you're really about empowerment, education. You were raised very salt of the earth, you know, family matters.
Exactly.
And I think people are craving that. They're craving truth.
Communication is a key, too. We communicate all the time with our client. My clients have my cell phone number.
Really?
Yeah. I got people in our business that look at me like I'm crazy when I say that my clients have my cell phone number. They're like, why do you do that? I'm like, why wouldn't you do it?
That's right.
If something happens with a client with their money at 8 o'clock at night on a Wednesday, they want to call me? Call me.
Right.
If I can answer, I'll answer.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, that's important. It's their money. We're managing all of their assets. And
they're trusting you. That is tremendous.
Exactly. So my clients have my cell number. They call me whenever they need. If I can answer, I answer. If not, as soon as I can, I'll return the call. And
I love that we're making this offer, a complimentary portfolio analysis. Tell me what that includes and how they can get that,
Right.
John.
So the first 15 callers, you're going to get what we call our Diversified Planning Strategies report. It's a no obligation, complimentary 5-point review of your current situation, whether it's market risk you're worried about, income planning. Do you have enough income to live on to fight the inflationary issues that we're dealing with today? Market risk, market volatility, taxes on your qualified plans. Can we do a Roth conversion strategy? This report will give you the answers. It'll help lead you to a stress-free retirement, which is the ultimate goal that we're trying to accomplish. So dial 844-534-4452. Get your date on the calendar, get introduced to the DPS report, and get to that stress-free retirement as soon as you can.
Absolutely, and you're going to get one of these wonderful books that I can't stop reading. And again, when we come back, we're going to talk more about the 7 mistakes and the 7 retirement traps that you can avoid. Stay with us.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to the Papa Report. We are talking about the 7 traps of retirement that most retirees make, and we are going to help you avoid these traps with this wonderful book. We're going to go on, John. The next chapter was Thinking Your IRA is a Good Thing.
Yeah, everyone thinks they have this great big pot of money in their IRA or 401k, and they're all proud of themselves, and they have this, $1 million portfolio. And then I'll just ask them a really quick question. I'm like, you know who your partner is on that, right? And they're like, what? What are you talking about? I don't have a partner. It's my account.
Yeah.
Well, there's an industry out there called the Internal Revenue Service, and you don't own all that money. It's like, well, what do you mean? So, well, you have to take distributions out of it at a certain age, at 72. You're taxed at the highest tax bracket you're in on those distributions coming out of the plan. So we can show clients that you're probably going to pay a third to a little more than a third of that money to income taxes, to the IRS. So you have a partner in that plan.
A third?
Yeah. So the taxes, they're no choice. You have to take the money out. So I'll give you an example. We had a client who we showed they contributed $155,000 into their 401k. They got a deduction for it. By the time they took their distributions out, they had to pay taxes on $500,000 by the time they passed away. So their distributions were $500, paid income taxes on all $500. They left $600,000 to their kids and grandkids. That's what was projected at their demise. So they have to pay taxes on the $600,000 that's left. So I advise clients, why is it a good thing to save taxes on $155 of contributions so that you and your family can pay taxes on almost $1.2 million when you're in retirement?
Wow. So you have a greedy partner, that
You
Uncle
have a
Sam.
greedy partner called Uncle Sam, and our job as your fiduciary advisor is to figure out which strategies can we implement to reduce those taxes.
What's the difference between an IRA and a 401k?
A 401k is a work employer-sponsored plan.
Okay.
You know, listen, the old days of a pension, they're gone, right? Back in the 60s, 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you worked for a company for 40 years. They put money away for you. You didn't have to pay anything into it. They put money away. You retired. You got a little pat on the back, maybe a watch, a cake, and you got a pension check every month for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
In 1978, the government changed the rules.
Yeah.
They said no more pensions. We're going to go to what we call a 401k. So now they put the onus of the retirement plan on the employee. So now the employee has to figure out, and they have to pay for it.
Right, an unknowing public.
Right, an unknowing public now has to figure out how much can I afford to take out of my pay, put into this long-term retirement plan. Then I have to pick investments. What investments should I pick? So, and that's what they allow. Some companies have a match. So maybe if you put in 2%, they'll put in 2%. So that's a great deal. I was always advise contributing up to what the company match is, okay?
Sure.
Now, an IRA, though, is once you leave the company, it's in your best interest to get the money out of the 401k because it's still in that group 401k. Get it out to your own individual IRA. So it's not a taxable event. It's just called a transfer.
And you don't have
rollover.
Okay, and you don't have to be like a certain age to be able to move it to an IRA?
Well, no, you do. If you're working at a company, you're below 59 and a half. Most company plans, the rule is 59 and a half. So if you're like 50, you can't do this. If you're 59 and a half and still working at the company, you can do what they call an in-service rollover out to an IRA, and it's not a taxable event. There's no penalties, there's no taxes, and you can now pick and choose more investment strategies. And there's way more distribution benefits for you in an IRA versus a 401k.
Wow.
Okay, so, and then if you retire from a company, it's always in your best interest to get the money out. And that's what we call a rollover. It's a 401k rollover to an IRA in that there's no taxes, again, no penalty, no taxes, and it stays in that qualified arena, but you still have all the taxes you have to address. And that's where we look at Roth conversion strategies. Where are you? How old are you? Do you still have time left before you're 72? Then we might look at converting some of that money to a Roth.
Wow, there are so many ins and outs.
There's so many things to do, so many little pieces of the board.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It makes our job fun.
I know, I can tell you love it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting, my mind is spinning like, how do you do this every day?
It's different every day. That's what's good about it. It's different.
That's right. Okay, so moving on, another retirement trap is liquidity. How do you know how much you need?
Right, and that, Rebecca, that is different for everybody. And I would be foolish if I were to tell somebody, this is how much money you need to have in the bank. No, I ask, what makes you sleep at night?
Yeah.
How much money do you need liquid to sleep at night so that if an emergency happens, you're comfortable and you're stress-free?
Yeah.
And for different people, it's different. And some people, it's 3 months of expenses. Some people it's 6 months of expenses. We talked before, sometimes people want $100,000 in the bank.
And you didn't know why.
They don't know why, but
whatever works for you.
You don't want to have too much in the bank because, especially in today's inflationary times, you're not getting any interest in the bank. Inflation's running at, they say 9%, which is not really true because it's higher than that. So your money's losing money sitting in a bank. But you want to have enough there to feel comfortable and be able to sleep at night.
And what do you mean it's losing money sitting in the bank? Because if I have $100,000 in the bank, doesn't it always stay $100,000?
Oh yeah, it stays $100,000, but it won't buy the same amount of stuff tomorrow. And then the next day, and then the next day. So every day
costs are rising, and your money's staying the same.
And your money's staying at $100,000. Yeah, so you're losing to inflation.
Interesting. Only 2 minutes to go. I want to remind our friends at home, if you drive in, if you have a commute, or on Saturday mornings at 9 o'clock, 9:70 a.m., The Answer, you can hear John. And on Sunday at 1 p.m. And your son Luke is about to take his test and join your firm.
Yep,
Third generation.
Third generation. We're so excited. You know, my dad would have been so proud of seeing him, come in and get a little emotional talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, he was he always asked his grandkids. I have another child and a niece and nephew. None of them ever expressed interest to get in the business. So then when Luke finally did, it was after my dad passed away. So he didn't get a chance to see it, but I know he's watching.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He'd be so excited.
I know, it's incredible. And Sue at the front desk, and your wife even comes into the office, right?
Yeah,
and
she's a former accountant that helps us with our reporting to clients.
So she was an accountant?
Yeah.
Wow.
She was an estate trust accountant.
Wow, so it definitely runs in the family. There's the number, 844-534-4452. We're getting ready to say goodbye, but let's tell them what they're going to get complimentary.
Right, so we're going to give for the first 15 callers, you dial 844-534-4452. We're going to give you an introduction to the Diversified Planning Strategies Report, our DPS report. And what that's going to do is a no obligation, complimentary 5-point review of all of the things that could be affecting you right now in your retirement. Okay, it'll talk about market risk, market volatility, taxes on qualified plans, the inflationary effect of your expenses. Do you have an income gap? It will address that. Social Security checkup, if we need to do that. That's what the DPS report will do. It'll start leading you down the road to a stress-free retirement. So dial 844-534-4452, get a date on the calendar, and we'll get you that DPS report.
Fantastic. Thank you, John.
Thanks,
always
Rebecca.
So informative and educational. And thank you at home for staying with us. Remember, you can always meet John and his team anytime. Just call that number, get your appointment, and get your book. And we'll see you next time.